Fans of The Police are going to get to hear some of their classic songs as they've never heard them before. Right here in Rochester, their legendary drummer is going to perform with the RPO. He, of course, is Stewart Copeland, the Grammy-winning and Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee, working with the RPO and the Eastman School of Music for Police, Deranged for Orchestra. Stewart is with us now by Zoom. Thank you so much for waking up and chatting with us today.
It is my pleasure.
Absolutely.
Glad to be with you.
Well, it's an honor, and the pleasure is all ours. First and foremost, we're excited to welcome you back to Rochester. You have played in the area before. Wondering if you recall your time here.
Well, it was a pretty big place, actually. It was either a small stadium or a very large arena. Cold, I think, is an enduring memory of your fair city.
That would be very correct, especially for this time of year. So talk to us.
Especially for a guy from California.
Yes, very true, very true. Talk to us. Police Deranged for Orchestra. Where did this idea come from?
A couple of different places. The derangements parts came from a movie that I made about the police. I had a Super 8 camera back in the day, and I shot I had it glued to my face. And I made years later, they invented computers so that I could cut it up and make a movie out of it, went to Sundance and so on. But the film score for it had to be police music, but it didn't do what film music is supposed to do, so I had to cut it up. And once I got the scissors out, the orgy began. And I found lost guitar solos, cool vocal improvisations. And then, okay, that's the deranged part, but what is a punk rock drummer doing playing with a fancy orchestra like the Rochester Phil? That's because my 20 years before the mast as a film composer taught me how to work with orchestra and the power and the majesty of what an orchestra can do. And I'm kind of hooked on that stuff now. I like being surrounded by a big orchestra and playing songs that people know.
Well, and they do know them. I mean, we're talking some of the biggest hits: Roxanne, Don't Stand So Close to Me, Message in a Bottle. I'm wondering, what was the creative process for you, particularly working with the Eastman School and with the RPO and coming up with this?
Well, I will meet them for the first time, and we'll rehearse for about 2.5 hours. And the really cool thing about orchestras of this stature is that I'll show up, flop the scores out on the stands, count those boys in, and we will take off. And they'll be ready for a show tonight. That's the miracle of the orcs, as I fondly call them. They're kind of cousins to rock musicians. They're musicians of the eye rather than of the ear, by which I mean that they connect with music with their eye. They have a score, and they're faithfully dedicated to reproducing exactly every scintilla, every nuance of what's on the page. And what's on the page isn't just the tune, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, it's da-da-da-da-da-da-da. You know, all that articulation, all that, minutia of expression. They live to reproduce that. Now, my rock and roll buddies, not so much. You show them the basic chords, and they make it up from there on. But the orchestra, they are faithful to the score, which means that I get to go ape crazy. I could be swinging from the chandeliers because I know exactly where the orchestra will be.
That's got to be fun in a show like this. What is that? What fans can expect when they come out?
Oh, yeah, the fans can expect us all to rip our clothes off and go dancing through the streets, of course, as usual.
As usual. Perfect. Perfect. Listen,
no, it's the big side. We also, I should say, we have 3 soul sisters on the mic. So you will actually hear the songs beautifully sung by incredible singers. So they are the songs. It's not just an instrumental version of these. And I have deranged them, sometimes playing Hide the Hit, but you will hear all your favorite bits, but with the majesty of a big orchestra.
Which is going to sound incredible. So the Police, they've been around forever, fans all around the world. I'm wondering if you could describe for us the inspiration that goes into that unique sound, because it is very unique.
Well, it's a strange thing. I'm I've got a book coming out, which is based on my diaries of the formation years, the starving years of the police. We starved for 2 years before we started to get anywhere. And the thing that struck me looking at this is that we three guys, Sting, Andy Summers, and I, we bonded and just decided that we were in the right company before Sting had written a single song. We had not heard Roxanne. We had not heard Message in a Bottle, Every Breath You Take. We had no idea, and Sting didn't even know what he had under the hood. We knew he could sing, kind of, because in the punk band that we were originally, he was just basically yelling over my bass lines. We discovered one night, long story, that he got on the mic and just like, wow, that guy's really, because we knew about the charisma, we knew about everything else, but the singing, but the songwriting was not revealed until we'd been starving for a couple of years.
That's really incredible. I want to kind of switch topics, if we can, and move from Police to another band that you have played with, Oyster Head.
Yes.
Listen, big following. There's a cult following with that. And I was online earlier today looking around, and there's lots of talk and lots of clamor, people wondering when we're going to see Oyster Head on the road again.
I'm afraid all that love is having a bad influence on us. The less we play, the more anticipation there is, which is bad for us, you know. It's all we come together, we rehearse, you know, for a 2-hour show. We generally rehearse for about half an hour. It's the opposite of the orchestra, where everything is absolutely on the page. This, we just make it up on the stage. And God bless the audience that comes to see that. They want to see something that's never happened before, will never happen again. They want to see three guys just make it up right there in front of them. And there's, you know, there's going to be some dull spots, some train wrecks, but who cares? What they want to see is inspiration as it happens, and Oyster Head definitely delivers on that front with Les Claypool and Trey Anastasio on guitar.
Let me ask, what do you prefer more? Do you prefer the precision of knowing that an orchestra is going to play exactly what is on the page with the exact intention with which it was written, and you can have fun and do your thing on the drums? Or do you like the almost chaos?
That's an unfair question. Very challenging, penetrating interview we have here. I love them both. And in fact, they are kind of the antidote to each other. Even though I can just make stuff up and go along, there's a lot of discipline playing with those players of that caliber, such as the Rochester Philharmonic. I'm allowed to go anywhere I want, but there's a lot of discipline. With Oyster Head, no discipline at all. We just go ape crazy in front of 20,000 people and have a blast.
That one, I think, would be the one I would pick. That does sound like a lot more fun. Now, listen, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, one of the world's greatest drummers, your drumming style, very unique. You hold the sticks unlike anyone else. You're able to pack a punch and power behind those sticks that others, you know, try for years to achieve. How did you come up with that style of drumming? Where did you learn that?
Well, my daddy raised me to be a jazz musician. Which is why I don't actually listen to a lot of jazz as an adult. It turns out all my jazz buddies tell me, hey, look, he raised you on the wrong jazz, which is white big band jazz. That'll cure anybody of jazz. So I started off with a lot of lessons. My father had me straight into tuition. And, you know, from a very early age, I had all the correct rudiments and everything, which has been very valuable. And but that's secondary to being born with a gift. And musicians who have this gift, I hope they are all as grateful as I am, because there are others who work really hard. They do their practice. They eat their vegetables. They work and work and work, but they don't have, you know, for some reason it doesn't connect in the same way. And I feel very blessed and thankful that my banging stuff seems to work.
Well, it does, and it seems to stand the test of time because people still want to listen to you just bang around on the drums.
I thank them all with great humility.
Well, that's very kind, but we are thankful to be able to witness the level of talent and skill and ability from you and your peers.
Isn't this a strange world where I just bang stuff and people are happy.
We
I did
applaud.
a series for a documentary series for the BBC about what is music and why. I bang stuff, people start dancing. What is it?
Did we get to the answer for it though, or was there a
Yes,
resolution?
yes. Homo sapiens are evolved from music. It has several evolutionary purposes. It's for procreation. That's why so many songs are about love, and why, there's no other art form that will make human beings thrust their pudenda at each other in a sexually overt fashion. Music permits that, encourages that. A painting doesn't do that. Shakespeare doesn't do that. Only music will take control, motor control over your body and cause you to twitch involuntarily in a provocative manner.
It does.
How about that?
It sure does, and that was a very good answer. What's that?
Take that, Rembrandt.
It was a very good answer. That was a solid answer. One last question, then I promise I will let you go. I want to know, of your catalog of works, do you have one song that stands out among the rest? Do you have one song that you say, hands down, my greatest work? Or your favorite?
Well, my own greatest work, I would say the soundtrack to Spyro, the computer game, which was done under high intensity. I had to deliver acres of music by the yard, and somehow that pressure unleashed the instinctive gifts and without time to think. And I go back, and when I'm writing my symphonies now, I kind of go back to Spyro for those little three-note tricks that came in under that inspiration. But of works not necessarily of my own, like The Police, for instance, I would say Message in a Bottle was probably the finest hour of The Police.
Well, that is one that is a newsroom favorite here. That's a favorite of mine, and I know it's a favorite of others. Stewart Copeland, thank you so much for your time. Police Deranged for Orchestra, Friday, March 17th at 8 p.m. in Kodak Hall at the Eastman Theater. Welcome back to Rochester, my friend. We are very pleased to have you, and we look forward to seeing you.
Well, thank you for listening.
Absolutely, and thank you for joining us this morning. We are back after this.